Welcome, everyone. This is welcome to the Amherst Conservation Commission meeting of today, July 29th, 2026. It's 7:08 p.m. We have five participants or commission members here: Bruce, Carol, Sarah, Jason, and me. Um, Not sure if we'll have one more join us or not. We'll see as we move through. Just a matter of attention for those who were here to and looking to attend the discussion on regulations regarding hunting. We will be having that discussion in our next meeting, not tonight. Um, we have a significant drought still, even though it's raining right now. Again, for what that means to folks who are watering or just thinking about watering or not. That information will be on the town website under the uh, Public Works Water Department, right?
Yes.
Um, let's see. I think that's going to do it right now for oh, we did have in case uh some of you might have tried to tune into last week when we normally would have had our meeting. We did change that because last week several of us were in a training that was made possible by our new arrangement with the town for us to get some training, get a training budget. So, Dave, and to the town, a big thanks that we were able to get some conservation commissioner training. Other than that, I think that's it for now. I'm going to actually, Bruce, was there anything that you were going to speak about? Like,
Um, the only other thing I guess I would add is that the Fort River Culverts project continues, and we're looking for people to help with having a table about the culverts project at various town events. The next 2 months basically is the most intensive part. We're going to try to have a table at some of the farmers markets. We're going to be there with the DPW at the block party. I'm going to give a talk to the Rotary, and there's ice cream in the park. And I sent you the pamphlet, the flyer for that. So anywhere you can put that up and then appear to have some ice cream and to talk about flooding and stormwater and culverts would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
thank you, Bruce. So there you go. Go join Bruce or go and help uh, help be at a table and spread some information.
But especially put the posters up in various places wherever you can think that someone would see it. That's the key. Thank you.
Thanks. So with that, then we'll turn the mic over to Dave Zomek, who is going to give you a director's report. Dave?
Great, thanks, Andre. Kind of an appropriate announcement from Bruce about culverts and stormwater, and as little ticker tapes come across the TV saying, we have a flood watch for Hampshire, Hamden, and Franklin County tonight, and much needed rain, but it's nice to get it over a couple of days. It's also one of these summer storms where a lot of reptiles and amphibians kind of depend on these kinds of storms. Species like the eastern spadefoot toad actually come out and breed in these kinds of events. So much needed rain for lots of reasons. Don't have too many updates tonight, but I'll cover just a couple. Some of you may have tuned in last week. I believe it was on Tuesday night. We had a panel discussion, a webinar on Hampshire College. I know I didn't recognize everybody. I was part of the panel, but I know Bruce was there and Aaron was in the audience as well. But the town and our consultants spent about an hour and a half both presenting, but also taking questions through the webinar format on the Hampshire College process. And again, our process is really focused on zoning. Clearly, the college is moving forward with their plans, both for, addressing the needs of their students, their faculty, their staff, the teach out of those students, remaining students, and then the disposition of the campus. But our process is really focused on zoning and how that may influence the future of the campus. The town council has given the town manager and staff 4 focus areas for that to focus on in that zoning. One is housing, the urgent need for more housing in town in all categories. Broadening the tax base is another need. Resource protection, both natural resource protection, wetlands, streams, rivers, as well as prime soils, agricultural land, and then the possibility that there may be, individual facilities on that campus that may be of interest to the town, i.e., there's a swimming pool, there's a gymnasium, there's pickleball courts, etc. So those are kind of the 4 categories that we're focused on. But there were a couple of questions about, how does town conservation staff and the commission weigh in on that? And clearly, there is a broad opening for committees and boards to be part of that process moving forward. And I would encourage the commission to be part of that, the planning board part of that, and other boards and committees across town may be part of that process moving forward. And I'll try to keep you apprised. And there is a website there on our website. The full presentation last week is there. And I would encourage anybody, if you have a few minutes, to take a look at that presentation. I think it was pretty comprehensive, and there's 5 to 10 slides that are really quite helpful when you think about resource areas and potential development on the Hampshire campus. So that's kind of a big focus moving forward in the fall. The goal is really to have a zoning proposal to the council by sometime around the middle of the year. January-ish, to have a zoning proposal for the campus to them for their consideration. So that's a big focus, Hampshire College. Moving a little bit, yeah, for sure.
A fine-grained detail. The culvert assessors went to the Hampshire campus and they only found 3 culverts. And that's largely because it's a relatively flat forest wetland. There aren't really streams there much. And so just for your information.
Yeah, you mentioned that on a call we were on this morning, Bruce. Surprised me a little. I'm not sure if Aaron was surprised at all by that number. It surprises me that there aren't more, actually, but
well, if you know of them, then we should discuss it with the assessment team and see if they can go take another look.
Yeah, because there are a lot of intermittent streams out there in and amongst all that farmland. But 3 might be the number, but we can take a look.
Let's check in with the team.
Yeah, everything is culverts, and 26. Let's see what else. Moving north to Buffers Pond, unfortunately, with the rain, we have had a couple of weeks of failed water quality tests up at Buffers Pond, and we were, the drought and the lack of rain has allowed us to kind of keep Buffers Pond open and welcoming to visitors all summer and users all summer, but we've had to post it a couple of times. It actually goes now through the health department. So the health department makes that call. And we last week and then this week, the water quality there did not meet state standards. So we'll keep testing. We test every Monday or Tuesday. The results take about 24 hours, and then we post on our website, and then we physically post. conservation staff physically post the pond. So we'll keep working on that. Let me see. Sticking up in North Amherst, I am going to reach out to the Friends of Lake Warner. They've been doing a lot of outreach. Lake Warner, of course, is the water body that the Mill River flows into in Hadley and then goes over a dam and then a very short run to the Connecticut River. The Friends of Lake Warner have been doing a lot of outreach, a lot of good work, really focused on water quality in Lake Warner. So a good portion of the watershed of the Mill River is in Amherst. So it makes sense for us to collaborate with them. So I've worked with them before, but it's been a while since we've had a closer relationship. So I hope to kind of foster that in the coming months. Small item, staff was able to, after some great length of time, a little longer than I had hoped, put in a new kiosk up at Mount Warner. It's been long awaited. I've talked about it for probably a year and a half. And this will, what will follow is some of the material and information that came before you from one of the Friends of Mount Warner, focused on the geomorphology of the area. Some of you may recall you supported that some time ago, work by Thomas Johnson, who's an abutter to Mount Warner. So we'll get going on some modest signs up there. I think you had approved one sign at the top of the ridge there, Mount Pollux, and then some information on the kiosk. So we'll get going on that. And I think that those are the major updates. Aaron and I continue to work with Pure Sky at the Hickory Ridge site. Batteries have been delivered there. I believe Pure Sky will be back before you talking about a potential amendment to their permit in 2 weeks. I believe they're back on your agenda in 2 weeks. In the meantime, we're working on them on trying to hit every one of their punch list items. Various town staff work with Aaron and myself, our electrical inspector, our fire code inspectors have been meeting with Pure Sky out on that site for weeks, and we're trying to get them to the finish line to get that project buttoned up. But again, Pure Sky will be presenting to you, if I'm not mistaken, in 2 weeks on your agenda. So those are the quick updates around town. Any questions? I'm happy to field them.
Thank you, Dave. I have a question. What have there been any talks about anadromous fish ladders in the dam, in either of the two dams that you've mentioned, either at Hadley and North Hadley or in Puffers?
Yeah, good question. Through the years, there's been a lot of talk, particularly about the dam at Lake Warner. I won't go into great detail, but there's kind of a long history of looking at that dam. And of course, that dam, as I said, it's a very short run. If you don't know how close it is to the confluence of the Connecticut, that basically killed any fish movement up or down, mostly up, but pretty much down as well in that watershed for 150 years. Fish have not been able to get over that dam. It's a very tall dam. Kestrel Trust took over that dam and part of the ownership of that dam from the Valley Land Fund when the Valley Land Fund and the Kestrel Trust merged. And there was a lot of discussion in Hadley, including possibly taking down that dam. And the residents of Hadley said, absolutely not. We want that water body. So I think that's kind of where it ended at Lake Warner, Andre, with, an interest, but at the time there was so much to figure out with the condition of that dam on Lake Warner, and some of those improvements, a lot of those improvements were funded with CPA dollars and state grants, so the dam is safe, but no anadromous fish passage was ever added. And then you come upstream to the Puffers Pond Dam, which is much taller, and we've talked about it through the years, but I think it's just frankly been a little daunting to think about it. There's also been talk about both dams potentially adding micro hydro to both dams in the past as a way to generate power. Again, I think the impediment has always been cost and the cost of studying that from an engineering standpoint. So, not to say it couldn't happen either fish passage or micro hydro, but the cost really became the impediment, I think, in both cases. But
Maybe this is a good time to bring it up. I mean, I'm asking more than making that statement or asking that question. I'm wondering if maybe you could bring that up on our behalf when you have your next meeting with.
yeah, I could talk and see
Good.
if the friends that are at all looking at that. Now, keep in mind, we are studying the Puffer's Pond Dam and the dike because both of them need some structural work. There's no danger. Both structures are safe, but they're going to need significant work, particularly the dike at Puffer's Pond. So we're in that study and engineering phase, and then we're going to need to go for state funding and possibly town funding to make some of those repairs to the dam
Mm.
and dike.
I would imagine that there's some federal monies and state monies that would be that one could find grants in order to uh, get the passage, to facilitate the passage of these anadromous and catadromous fish.
We'll certainly, yeah, certainly look into it.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Sarah? You're muted. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I was just going to say, you guys probably know Boyd Kennard. He's right here in Amherst and
I,
designs.
he,
And
I,
in fact, he did the Wentworth he worked on. Are you friends with him, Audrey? Andre?
he was a professor of mine, and
Oh, that's awesome.
I did a study on juvenile short-nosed sturgeon where we put little backpacks on them and tracked them up and down the river. And
Awesome.
he also did the anadromous fish elevator and fish ladder, the elevator at Holyoke Dam and the fish ladder in Turner's. And I was one of the people who would count them and catch the salmon so that it would go to the salmon hatchery.
My son's doing herring stuff. He's been doing river herring for a long time. I'm happy to, if Andre, if you're ever interested in exploring that further, I'm more than happy. I think that's a great idea. And I know those Lake Warner folks,
Uh-huh.
they're connected to my family members and Julian, they've been trying to recruit Julian for their team
Right.
for a long time. So I'm happy to work if you ever want to.
Thank you, sir.
Just to add, Boyd was very helpful. Amherst, Amherst initiated and helped organize the removal of the Bartlett Rod Shop Dam in Pelham some years ago. And Boyd was very helpful in that regard. So we worked with the Department of Ecological Restoration, state agencies, U.S. Fish and Wildlife was around the table on that one too. So yeah,
Yeah, get some,
certainly look at it.
there's some great resources in this town for sure.
Yeah.
Knowledge resources. Jason?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, would removing the Puffer's Pond Dam altogether be something that would be allowed under our bylaws? Like, wouldn't we be then destroying wetlands that have been created by the existence of that dam? And the Lake Warner, in theory, the Lake Warner Dam as well.
Yeah, I would imagine that I would say that they're going to have to be permits all around, but I can't, I've never been involved in drawing down a dam. Dave may know more about that.
And
Or
Aaron probably has too. I don't want to spend too much time tonight, but it's a great question, Jason. But I think the short answer is yes, it can be done. It's being done all over the state. There's some really impressive dam removal projects in Eastern Mass right now, and it can be permitted. Years ago, we looked at it for the Puffer's Pond Dam when we did the Puffer's Pond 2020 work, and it was when we did public outreach to those people who love and use Puffer's Pond, it was a resounding, the community wanted to keep the dam and the pond. So
Yeah, I would imagine. I'm just curious about. I mean, they're good projects that restore like the natural flow and equilibrium to the waterways,
Mhm.
but they're definitely resources that people have fallen in love with.
Yeah, it can be done. It has been and it is being done. It can be permitted, but anyway.
Great. Thanks for that question, Jason. And Carol has a question as well.
So actually, I recently joined the board of the Friends of Lake Warner because I'm very interested in what they're doing with water quality. And I just want to mention that Kestrel is no longer part of that. Owning that dam, they transferred the land that they owned actually to the Friends of Lake Warner, and they said they did not want to be in the business of owning dams, as I understood it. Right, Dave? Yes?
Yeah, it was a long and very difficult and very expensive process. Owning dams is not real glamorous and it comes with a lot of responsibility. So,
And repairing them is very expensive.
yeah, but they did get a lot done when they did own
Yeah.
it. So I give them a lot of credit.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you. And Dave, thanks for your director's report. Today we have two hearings. One of them, both of them notices of intent. Our 7:15 notice, get started on that. Before I do, just wanted to ensure that folks are aware of the
Andre, sorry. Before you start that,
yes, sir.
let's remember that we'll need to come back to the minutes, the land use updates, the CPA liaison appointment, and the First Amendment obligation summary, all of which were scheduled before this, but we'll need to come back to them.
All right, we'll be coming back to all of those.
Okay.
And for anyone who had signed on to hear or participate in the discussion about hunting regulations that we had mentioned in the last meeting, we've put that on, or we will be putting that on the agenda for next meeting. Bruce, your hand is still up. So general procedures for fairness in our hearings. Each hearing has 20 minutes to it, dedicated to it, with 5 for the applicant or their representative, 5 minutes for staff, 5 minutes for public comment, or 2 per person, and 5 minutes for conservation commissioners. The commission requires that all materials that are going to be used for our meetings be submitted the Wednesday prior to our meetings by close of business. And when presenting, state your name clearly and the address of the project and who you're representing. If you have preferred pronouns, please mention those as well. Same for members of the public, and also state your name and address. During the hearings, everybody should be muted unless they're speaking. That means everyone, not just the commissioners, but everyone. And the chair will facilitate communications. Just raise your hand whenever you would like to be heard or have a question. With that, we'll be moving into our first hearing. This public hearing is now called to order. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of wetlands, as most recently amended, and Article 3.31, Wetlands Protection under the Town of Amherst General Bylaws. This is a notice of intent submitted by Berkshire Design Group on behalf of Wild Onions LLC for the construction of an auxiliary dwelling unit at an existing residential property with associated parking, drainage, and mitigation within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and isolated vegetated wetlands at 194 College Street, map 14B, lot 151. With that, we're looking to see who might be here to present. Are we seeing anyone there, Aaron? With the with Berkshire Design?
Yes, I will bring Mike Liu in.
Thank you.
If there's anybody else for this project that wants to be pulled in, please raise your hand and I'll bring you in. I see Ward Smith. I'm going to pull him in as well.
Well, welcome, Michael Liu and Mr. Ward. Go ahead and give us your presentation, and we'll move on
Right.
from there. Welcome again.
Okay. Yep, we'll try to make it quick here. I'm Michael Liu with the Berkshire Design Group, presenting this project on behalf of Yu Pen Tseng. He is a property owner in Amherst with many rental properties. This particular project, can you all see my screen?
We can see you right now, but we're
Oh.
we're gonna work on getting you to share the screen.
Okay.
Aaron, is that set up? Probably yes.
Yeah, so you should be able to share and request to share, Mike, and then I can allow you to.
Just
Okay,
right
let me
next to
see.
your raise your
Center.
hand.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. All right. You should see a little kind of a locust map taken from the Amherst GIS system.
Try one more time, Mike, because it's not
Oh.
popping up for us. I did allow you to share, so it should be
Oops.
working.
Oh, here we go. Let's
Might just
see.
take an extra try after you request.
There we go.
Yep.
I think you got it now.
Okay. Now we're on here. Okay. So this property, 194 College Street, is highlighted in yellow there, that lot. The existing house you can see, and then there's a driveway that goes around on the east side, going north into a parking area. Oops, let's see, okay. This survey shows the wetlands that were identified and delineated by Ward Smith of Valley Environmental Services. I mean, Wenda Wetland Services. And in blue here, this is off-site. Along the north side, there's an existing swale on the west side here that's actually off the property, but there's an isolated wetland at the bottom of that swale shown in these blue line over here. The red lines indicate the 50-foot no disturb zone, 75-foot building setback, and this is the 100-foot buffer zone. So you can see that it's like 88% of the parcel is within buffer zone, and there's already development within 50 feet of the wetlands, and then the house is within 75 feet, within the 75-foot building setback already, and then there's further, development out here out to the 100-foot buffer zone. I'm just going to go through some pictures real quick. This is just a picture from the street with the driveway on the side here. The ADU location is proposed to be where the arrow is pointing here in the back. In this photo from the driveway, the red lines here indicate that the driveway is shifting over, and then it would go into the ADU, which is situated back here. The ADU would straddle the where the existing pavement is and the part of the lawn here. In the back, in the woods, you can't see the wetland flags. They actually weren't. Our surveyors restaked them after I took these photos, but the wetland line to the north is within the woods here. It's actually down gradient of the site by about a foot. So there's little chance of runoff migrating in that direction. These are photos in the swale in the isolated wetland area. You can see, by the way, I'm standing in the swale and looking back toward College Street. To the left here, there's an old existing steel clothesline. There's actually two of these in the back of the site, which we're proposing to remove as part of the mitigation, and we'll talk about that. And Ward can give a quick presentation on that mitigation after I finish. In the back here, and just in this photo here, I just want to point out that in the rear of the existing building, there are currently these bump outs. There's a first floor bump out off the kitchen. There's a second floor kind of a den and entry emergency access bump out with these covered stairs that go down against the house, and then these open stairs that come down. The stairs are within the 50-foot no disturb, as well as some of the paving that's underneath the stairs here. So in this color diagrammatic plan, it shows the proposal with the areas highlighted. This is the existing house. The ADU is proposed to be situated here, right outside the 50-foot no disturb line. There's really no way we can fit this anywhere else on the site because of the side setbacks, and otherwise, the building would end up being in the front here, and there's just not enough room in this corner of the site to build anything that's substantial enough to be a residence, besides, like one of those tiny houses. The driveway is shown here, hatched in gray with slightly moving over. In the background, this light dashed red line indicates the existing edge of pavement. So the driveway is shifting to the east slightly, and then coming into the ADU, there's a couple parking spaces wedged between the ADU and the back of the existing house, and then 3 more spaces here to the side and front of the house. This ADU is a custom design building. There's 2 garage parking spaces on the ground level, and then the living spaces on the upper level. So it's a custom design unit in order to fit on the site and provide 2 extra parking spaces underneath. The proposed area of mitigation is highlighted in blue. This area back here, you'll see the existing pavement right here that exists is going to be removed and converted into mitigation with native shrub plantings and conservation seed mix. The back area here where the clotheslines exist, you can kind of see these circles, light circles here. I can blow it up if you can't see them. They're the posts of the clothesline. There's 4 posts here and 2 in the back here. Those are proposed to be removed, and as well as some of the invasive species which Ward can highlight. And then this area is proposed to be replanted. I can't remember how many shrubs, with a number of native shrubs and conservation mix. The area here along the east between the ADU and the property line is proposed to be a runoff mitigation swale. It's designed as filled with natural stone and planted with hardy perennials that'll come back annually. The light green areas are the resultant lawn areas. There's a lawn space here, and in the back we wanted to keep a little bit of lawn and open space around the back of the building just for access and for maintenance, etc., so that if you had to put up a ladder or whatever, you're not trampling through the native plantings. And then having the shrubs right up against the house, obviously would be problematic. So in the back of the existing unit, it shows now without the bump outs, but there will be a small landing off of an existing door that's in the pantry with a couple steps down to grade. Let me go to the next diagram. So this diagrammatic plan shows on the left in green hatched area, the existing developer altered area, impervious area. This is the existing house. This is the driveway. This is the 50-foot no disturb line highlighted, and this is the 100-foot buffer out here. In proposed conditions, we're going to remove all of this paving from inside the 50-foot and basically shift things over into the zone, zone between the 50 and 100-foot buffer. I clarified some of the numbers with Aaron today. in existing conditions, this total amount of alteration is 3,435 square feet. In proposed conditions, it's 3,397 square feet. So it's slightly less alteration in proposed conditions than in the existing. So I think that's a benefit. Let me think. I'm not sure if we have. Oh, I'm just going to jump over to the planting plan real quick to kind of show you the layout. So this area of the native planting mitigation includes a number of shrubs. There's 5 species proposed, planted at 8 feet on center, along with a conservation seed mix here. It's listed with the species. And then within the drainage swale, we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it 7 or 8? 1, 2. 7 species of perennials, native perennials, and grasses to be planted within the stone swale.
I just like to chime in here just for a second,
Sure.
Mike. So there are really 2 areas of in the mitigation. One is the pavement that's going to be removed. That will be topsoil will be added to that, and that will be sown with a
Right.
native seed mixture and planted with shrubs, native shrubs. And then the farther area is currently a lot of that is wooded, and there has been a garlic mustard problem out there, and because of the shading of the trees, the Virginia creeper is actually doing really well against the garlic mustard, and I was happy to see that. So our proposal is not to cut anything 3 inches or greater, to leave the existing canopy, even though some of those are non-natives, but to remove all of the non-native shrubs in there and bittersweet. So that would be removed by hand tools, clippers, saws, and hand shovels to dig up the root systems, and then planted with the native species. So a total of 58 shrubs are proposed to be planted in the mitigation area.
Great. Thanks for clarifying. We saw there was a site visit yesterday. I think 2 of the commissioners came out, and we saw the bittersweet, and some of them, the big vines were cut in the past, so you could see that there was, somebody had gone out there and tried to cut it, but obviously it's very hard to pull down out of the branches. We saw a lot of Norway maple saplings. There was multiflora rose out there. There's
Morrow's honeysuckle, burning bush.
Mhm.
That's what I've got on here. Common buckthorn. Those are the ones I noted there
Yeah,
for
okay.
non-native invasive species.
Right.
But all of that would be removed and replaced with native species.
And then your monitoring plan also has a
Monitoring for 2
component.
years with reports to the commission. And it's the same. I just put the same standard as for a wetland replication area, 75% success of the shrubs at the end of 2 years, 2 growing seasons would be considered successful. If it's less than that, then we would have to replant.
Yep. Okay. I think we've probably taken a good 10-15 minutes maybe. So I guess we'll close the presentation at this point and hear questions from the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. We're going to go now to Aaron Jacques for the town's perspective, and then we'll go to the public, and then the commissioners will have a chance to speak with you or to ask you questions.
Aaron, do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, that'd be great, Mike. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
All right, Aaron, it's all yours for now.
Thanks. So I didn't have a chance to draft an order of conditions tonight. I started, but just unfortunately wasn't able to finish. But I wanted to just share my thoughts on the waivers that were requested. So just to refresh the commission's memory, back in 2024, this applicant came before the commission with an ADU proposal, and as a result of a lot of questions on the project, they ended up withdrawing. And since that time, I want to say we've met 3 or 4 times to basically review their progress. They wanted to get recommendations from me throughout, and basically have integrated every single one of my recommendations in this proposed plan. And I'm really happy on a redevelopment site that we could incorporate this level of mitigation, natural restoration, and also achieve the goal of the applicant to get their ADU in here. So, with regard to the waivers, one of the wetlands is an isolated wetland, and we do have 100-foot no disturb. I wanted to just emphasize to the commission the similarities between this site and I believe it was 174 Amity Street, where there was a parking lot which was up gradient of the project area, where a lot of water was coming off of the adjacent site onto the neighboring site. In this case, the wetland is on the neighboring property, but it's a multifamily house that has a large parking area, and that runoff is coming off of that site. So they're definitely, that wetland, I think, was the result of a large parking area that has inadequate drainage immediately upstream of the project, which is causing the anaerobic soil conditions and the hydrophytic plants to grow. So I have basically fashioned the finding of fact very similar to the 174 Amity Street, basically to acknowledge the fact that there's this upgradient wetland which is formed as a result of a parking lot that didn't have proper drainage. And let me see. I also indicate that I don't believe that the work that they're proposing here is going to impair the capacity of that isolated wetland. If anything, I think it's actually going to improve the condition of that wetland because they're shifting so much out of that 50-foot buffer where there's existing development, and they're, making improvements by adding vegetation, by adding some stormwater measures to increase the the site all around. So I am comfortable granting a waiver, the first waiver request, because of the specific site design that they've incorporated on this particular project. The second waiver was the setback for residential properties, which I believe Mike referenced as 75 feet. In this case, for residential, it's 60 feet. And since these are both proposed to be single-family homes, right now the houses are set 50 feet back. The existing and the proposed ADU are set at 50. And based on this being a redevelopment project and them locating the structures, the proposed structure as far away as they can while still maintaining their side setback, I think that they're doing the best they can to try to meet that specific provision, and so I'm also comfortable granting a waiver on that. The third waiver is the 20%. I did do the calculations and checked Mike's math. So the existing, I wrote this out in bullets. The application proposes a net reduction of 880 square feet between 0 to 50 foot. From the wetland. The application also proposes to increase the alteration between 50 and 100 feet by 842. So there's actually less, and they're moving it farther away. The existing alteration on the site is 31%, and they're moving it away and they're reducing it to 30%. So they're bringing the overall alteration of the site down. And they're proposing a mitigation area, which is larger than their overall project footprint with all of their mitigation. So based on that, I really feel like they have done everything that they possibly can on this site to meet the, to practically meet the bylaw under the site conditions, which they can't control. So based on that, I would be comfortable granting a finding of fact, allowing the waivers on those three provisions. And so that's the staff perspective on this. I think they've done a very good job on the plan to bring it into compliance as much as possible.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for the town's perspective. we'll go now to the public. If you are in the one of the attendees of the public and you have a question or a comment on this notice of intent at 194 College Street, please raise your hand. I see no hands up. So we'll go on to the commissioners. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Let me start then. Oh, Jason has a question. Go ahead.
Aaron, you mentioned that this is a single family home. I'm assuming that this is going to be a rental and likely a student rental. I see that there's large stones that are bordering the mitigation in the rear of the property. Out of curiosity, is there any kind of wording that gets put into like rental agreements that tenants are not to enter that area, they're not to alter that area in any way? Is there any kind of language like that that goes into these rental agreements for a project like this?
So Jason, you're asking me the question?
I'm just
Or-
kind of asking anybody the question that knows the answer
Okay.
at this point.
Maybe Mr. Liu or may have a better idea there.
I mean, I think this is Ward Smith. I think you could put it in as a condition. I assume Aaron is going to draft a condition like we have on other projects where there would be signs saying wetland mitigation area. So I think a condition, I don't know the exact wording, but that the wetland mitigation area is not to be used as a recreation area, lawn area.
And I want to add that in my conversations with the applicant and the property manager for this parcel, which is Valley Property Management based on Main Street in Amherst, I believe they will have no objection to limiting or making the mitigation areas off limits.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to, if we can, I'd like to make that a condition that language be included in the rental agreements for both properties or both units, that the mitigation areas are not to be used. They're not for recreation. They're not for picnicking or anything like that. They're strictly off limits.
Thanks, Jason. Did your questions answered?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't see another hand up, so I'll take an opportunity. I did see that one of my questions was the comparison of area, a permeable area pre and post construction. That was answered, but I'm wondering what is it that you plan on doing with the parking area that you're going to reconvert to permeable area? Maybe Ward would be the person. What do you do to that land, to that part of the property to
That's
recondition?
going to be after the pavement is going to be removed from the site and disposed of properly, and I'm assuming there's gravel under there. That would be removed down to a depth of 6 inches. There's going to be 6 inches of topsoil put in there, and then that's going to be sown with a native New England wetland plant seed mixture and planted with the same shrubs that are going to be used in the rest of the mitigation area. So that will end up being a shrub area and not a wet meadow mix, an upland wildflower wild mix.
Okay, thank you, Ward. Do we have any other questions from commissioners? I see none. With that, then I suppose we're looking for a motion to adopt the finding of fact and close the public hearing on this, knowing that Aaron will draft an order of conditions to issue at the next meeting.
Sorry, Andre, I had a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed that there's no stones on the right side of the project on the east side of the project between the driveway and the swale. Um, and it appears that there's roughly a foot difference. It appears that the edge of the swale and the edge of the driveway are at grade. Um, I'm a little concerned about potentially cars coming in and out, driving in that swale then, if it's at, especially if it's at grade. Um, is that something that we can potentially put some stone, larger rocks there to prevent any vehicles? Because it's super close to spot 7 in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of cars in and out of there. I'd like to try to prevent vehicles from entering that swale if possible.
I think that's a very reasonable comment. Aaron mentioned that possibly that the commission might want some type of border or protection there. I think again, maybe using the large stones set, 6 or 7 feet apart or something like that would, hopefully prohibit cars from entering or driving off the edge. And I was looking, probably even at least at the south end also of that swale. And I just wanted to mention that other area below or to the south of the swale there is grass. That's for the benefit of the fire department. They have the regulation about trying to get to within 50 feet of a unit, and so having clear space so that
Sure.
fire trucks could drive on there if needed. So we can't really vegetate that area per se, but I think stones kind of guarding the edge of the swale and between the swale and the driveway would be acceptable.
All right, and then also, as I was saying that, plows came to mind. So where would snow storage go? Where would snow? I don't want them pushing it into that swale then, especially if there's salt in it.
Yeah, I was thinking
We
about
can
that
avoid
too
it.
because the stones are gonna, prohibit plows from actually doing that. I mean, there's gonna be some that kind of ends up just kind of probably flying off the plow blade and ending up in the swale. But, and I grant you the site's tight, but there's space in off the edges to the like I said at the beginning where the fire trucks are going to be allowed to maneuver if they need to. There's these smaller grass plots between the edge of the driveway and the existing house, and in the rear there's a little bit of space. And we talked about this if there comes a time when snow banks become problematic, they're really just going to have to go and shovel those up into a truck or something and dispose of them off site. I know that Valley Property Management has done that. They do that with some other sites that they manage. So it's not anything new to them.
All right.
So we can have them have something of that sort wrapped into the order of conditions.
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Aaron, your hand is up. Did you have
Yeah, I did start drafting the order, and some of the conditions were to have curbing, like a wooden fence curb going along the edge of that driveway to keep vehicles out, as well as, I mean, they're going to need vehicle access to the swale to clean it, so there's got to be some mechanism for vehicles to get to it for cleaning and maintenance. But I made note in there that besides the access area, those mitigation areas need to be bounded. The note about no snow storage in the swale is definitely integrated, as well as the installation of the mitigation area is going to be a phased installation. So ordinarily, I would require the mitigation area to be planted prior to the start of construction. And in this case, because that's not possible because the driveway is part of the mitigation area, I'm going to be integrating conditions in there that the erosion and sediment control boundary be moved to the edge of the parking lot so that phase one of the mitigation installation can happen prior to the start of construction. And then once that mitigation area is installed, they could start on the, the driveway removal, the construction of the ADU, and then they would have a phase 2 of the mitigation area install. So trying to make it so that there's some checks and balances with making sure those things get done.
All right. Thank you. I don't see any more questions. So if we're satisfied that we'll have a decent order of conditions next week and or next meeting, I would be looking for a motion that the commission adopt the finding of fact and close the public hearing.
I move to close the finding of fact and adopt the finding of fact and close the public hearing.
Seconded.
There's Jason with a motion and Sarah with a second. Sarah,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Carol, still muted.
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So there we go. We'll get a finding of facts in the next meeting. And
Thank you very much.
Mike and Ward, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your presentation. Have a good night.
You too.
With that, we move to our second hearing that was scheduled for 7:20. This is a notice of intent. This public hearing is now called to order. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of wetlands as most recently amended in Article 3.31, Wetlands Protection under the Town of Amherst General Bylaws. This is a notice of intent submitted by Berkshire Design Group on behalf of Amherst Montessori School for the renovation of a playground area within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 27 Pomeroy Lane, map 20C, lot 85. We'll look to see who can join us for this presentation. If you're in the public attendee list, please raise your hand.
So good evening, Jeff Squire, also from the Berkshire Design Group.
Hello, Jeff. Welcome. If you don't mind stating who you're on behalf of, and if you have any desired pronouns or preferred pronouns, and then please run right into your presentation.
Perfect. So yes, Jeff Squire, I'm a partner with the Berkshire Design Group here on behalf of the Amherst Montessori School. I believe there's some representatives here also with us, but I will be leading this presentation. And yeah, happy to take everybody through the history. Actually, Aaron, I don't know how you want to run this. I will happy to present the current application, and you can bring in some of the other details at the end if that seems appropriate.
Jeff,
Yes.
just you must have missed it, but the format that we use is 5 minutes more or less for the applicant. Then the town will have another 5 minutes to compliment or comment on the application. Then the public will have another 5 minutes if they have questions and so on, and then it'll be the commissioners. So just go ahead and give your presentation, and then the town will give their kind of side of their thoughts on it.
Sure. No,
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the notice of intent in front of you, the application is really a renovation of their existing playground. This parcel is at 27 Pomeroy Lane. So you can see the roundabout here at the junction of 116 and Pomeroy Lane. It sits back on somewhat of a flag lot, It was a parcel and a property that they occupied in the 80s. In the around 2006 or 2013, 2014, they expanded to the current school that exists there now. So the driveway comes in, there's a turnaround, there's a couple of drainage ditches along the edge, but mostly in the rear on the south and east side are bordered by bordering vegetated wetlands. Um, and so I didn't have any great images. I'm sure Aaron has some better ones from the site walk, but I thought these aerials that I found were pretty representative of what's on the site. So again, looking south at the school, you can see the playground in the back, the swing sets. There's some culverts, tunnels, sandboxes, a number of different structures. Many of these are old pressure treated tire type structures. And so the goal of this project is really to, renovate this playground into something that's a little bit more modern, a little bit more updated. Um, and so again, looking at a plan view of the site, south is to our right, north is to the left on this page. So the driveway comes in from the left portion of the lower left-hand portion of the site. You can see the turnaround, the existing school. The playground really is captured within this darker dashed line. There's no plans to expand the playground as it currently exists. The wetlands, as they were delineated in 2011, are shown in blue here. There's no, as Aaron can speak to later, Ward is scheduled to go out there and confirm this delineation. There's no, we don't anticipate that it's changed a lot, but the playground, and certainly in terms of where it sits and where the kids occupy now, isn't anticipated to expand at all. It's just simply replacing some of the equipment they have there now. And so these areas highlighted and with call outs are some of the newer playground equipment, really just removing some of the old retired equipment that's like I said, it's pressure treated wood and outdated equipment, pipe equipment, to a newer playground standard. All the surfacing around the playground equipment now is wood fiber. There's no, it's a natural, wood playground product. There's no intention to change that. There'll be new material brought in just to accommodate, some of the construction that happens and, fulfill the fall requirements for these structures. But otherwise, there's no expansion of that surfacing. There's no, rubberized surfacing. There's no other artificial surfacing that's brought in. This is all just to augment what exists there now. And this happens in various locations around the site. I don't have, examples of the exact equipment, but this gives you an example of what this is certainly representative of what is being proposed there now. So they have a small net climber. There is a footing, for example, that would get placed for this central pole. The rest of these are much smaller, stake installations, a sway product that also just has a central footing. So they'll remove what is there now, pull that out of the ground. What is there now is either in gravel or in concrete footings. And they'll simply come and install new concrete footings for the new products. But there isn't a lot of site work. There isn't a lot of other disturbance that's required otherwise. And I thought I'd just grab a couple of examples from other projects, playground projects, just to demonstrate, the limited nature of the disturbance. It's really it's all about these concrete footings here. All of these products have footings with the exception of a few. This Cozy Dome, there's a few that don't require the same amount of installation footing requirement, but net climbers will have one on either end. And so it's a fairly simplified construction process, very isolated. We did update plans to provide some erosion control around those individual installations when they happen. But this is going to be sort of a phased project moving around the site, as a school schedule and contractor availability and weather allows. But it should be relatively quick. The disturbance should be minimal. And like I said, it's really just upgrading an existing playground area that has existed on that site since the late 80s, I think. So with that, I will leave it open to questions.
Well, thank you, Jeff. We'll have some questions or comments and so on for you in the next in about 10 minutes or so, or in the next 5 minutes after Aaron and the public has their questions. Now we'll turn it over to Aaron for the town's perspective. Aaron?
Thanks. So uh, there's a couple things going on the site. I think from my perspective, I mentioned the compliance matter in my report. I feel like it would be helpful for me to treat them separately, but I don't know, Andre, if you want me to go into details about the compliance related issue or if you want to handle that separately.
Sorry, I was muted. Actually, I think I would like to take them both together,
Okay.
because I feel like it's hard to consider a an NOI when there's something pending.
Okay. Okay.
In good faith, I think it would be good for us to go ahead and cover them both
Okay.
together.
Okay. So, in terms of the playground items, I don't have any concerns. I've drafted an order of conditions, which is in the packets. I was concerned that the delineation was from like 2011 and we haven't had an update. So there are conditions in the order that basically note that we're not confirming the accuracy of the wetland boundary. However, the proposed work in association with the playground replacement sounds like it's going to be relatively low impact. I did request erosion and sediment controls be added to the plan just as an added precaution. And there's some noted conditions which I sent along to Jeff earlier. So I just want to make it clear I don't have any issues with the playground side of the proposal. So in terms of the compliance item, and I did give a little bit of a background on this, but I'll try to do it again, which is back around 2021, there was a wetland violation that was identified on this site, basically filling of a wetland swale that was immediately adjacent to the parking area turnaround. At the time, the commission required a notice of intent to be filed, and in early 2023, there was an order of conditions drafted to restore the wetland. After the order of conditions was approved, it kind of fell on radio silence. I ended up following up a couple times with the school to ask what the status of the swale restoration was. As of 2024, I was told that the work had not been completed and that they were still trying to find a contractor to do the work. So then fast forwarding to early June 2026, I was contacted by a representative of the school regarding the playground project. And at that time, I asked about the status of the wetland restoration. And at that time, it was conveyed to me that the work had been completed. The work from the order of conditions had been completed, which I found a little concerning because there's a number of elements of that order of conditions that would have required me to be notified, posting of DEP file numbers, inspection of erosion controls prior to the work taking place, and then inspecting controls prior to the controls coming out. So we kind of discussed it and it was expressed that the work had been done. So we scheduled a site visit to go look at it today. So I guess from a staff perspective on the swale, when we got there, what it appeared the work that was done wasn't in compliance with the order of conditions to restore the swale. It appears that there was just a breakdown of some sort in terms of communication, and that basically there had been like a driveway surfacing. So what happened was they filled in the swale and then put driveway surfacing to create like a new parking spot next to the turnaround. So the work that had been completed, it appears, was to remove the gravel off the top of the topsoil, seed it down kind of with like a lawn, and then put the boulders around it with the signs that said wetland area don't disturb. So the swale wasn't actually restored. It was just kind of converted back to a lawn. I also had concerns because there was a significant amount of yard waste which had been dumped into the wetland behind this restored swale where it was supposed to be, which was also a condition of the order that that wetland not be used for disposal of yard waste material. And there's a trash storage area right up against the wetland swale to the east, and it was full of like trash, and there was like old so they had used a plastic erosion control blanket on the area where the gravel had been removed and seeded down. There was this plastic erosion control blanket, and a portion of it had been like pulled out and thrown into the wetland on the side. So we had a long conversation about all of these issues in the field, me, Bruce, and Carol, and I think this is the end result is the school really needs to move forward expeditiously with replacement of the playground, and we want to work with them to facilitate that. However, because of the compliance issues related to the order of conditions, and speaking with the head of the school, the feeling was that the best step would be for us to issue an enforcement order and be very detailed about what our requirements were, and that basically when they're in doing the playground equipment replacement with the contractor, that they would then address having the swale restoration completed at that time. So you'll find in your packets under Montessori NOI that there's a draft order of conditions. And then under the compliance folder in the packet, you'll find a Montessori folder with a draft enforcement order and an attachment to the enforcement order that details, I guess, what my expectations would be in terms of both projects being done and essentially being approved for work to begin tonight. So that's a staff background, but I'm happy to take questions, but Bruce and Carol, I think, can provide good context too.
Well, thank you, Aaron. Let's see if the public has any questions or comments here, and then we'll have our in-house. Let's see. Raise your hand if you're in the a member of the public and have a comment. I see one hand up. Pete Mackey. Welcome, Pete Mackey. If you don't mind stating your name and address and your preferred pronouns if you have them.
Thank you, sir. Pete Mackey, 648 Station Road, Amherst. I frankly don't know if I'm a member of the public. I'm a member of the board of Amherst Montessori School.
All right.
So I don't know if there's a distinction, but
No,
if
that sounds good.
Okay, first I want to thank the members of the commission and Aaron for their time working with us yesterday, and Aaron's extensive time with us over the last few months. I simply want to speak to the realities that Aaron has factually summarized that our board has been coping with during a very challenging administrative turnover. We have learned a number of things, including this, that we're categorically determined to make right, that we did not know of until very recently, among many other such issues. So I can only say on behalf of our school, we're sorry how this was handled. we are committed to solving the problem and doing it the way it needs to be done. So I just want to express that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey, and I think together we'll be able to reach a solution that's both going to help you and at the same time mitigate what hadn't been done.
Thank you.
We'll turn it now then. I don't see, oh, I do see another hand up, Jennifer Lafort. Jennifer Lafort, welcome.
Can you hear
If
me?
you don't mind stating your name, address, and preferred pronouns, or if you're doing here on behalf of someone who you're here on behalf of.
Sure. My name's Jennifer LaForte. I use she, her pronouns, and my address is 15 Linden Ridge Road in Amherst. I'm the board president of Amherst Montessori and was recently the acting head until our new head of school, Matt McCaffrey, who's also here, joined us. And I just want to underscore everything that Pete just said. We're very concerned about this. We're very committed to remedying this both quickly and with whatever company that we need to hire to do that. So I just wanted to let you know that there's three of us who are members of the leadership team for the school, both employees and board members, and our commitment is very certain and strong. We want to do this as expeditiously as makes sense.
Thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate that. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak? I see no hands up. With that, then we'll turn it over to the to commissioners and let me see if I can get this off my screen. I see there's a hand up. It happens to be Carol. Carol,
Yeah.
please.
I was at this site visit and it was a long discussion. I think part of it involved an explanation and an understanding of what it is that the Conservation Commission does and what we're responsible for. And there were two things that I wanted to mention. One is that I think that our conservation agent, Erin, is extraordinarily willing to work with people who come with problems. And she was open-minded and creative and trying to figure out a way to meet the needs of the school in this situation. And I really appreciated that. And secondly, and I've thought this for a while as I've been coming to the Conservation Commission meetings just as an observer, and then as a member, is that a lot of the public really doesn't understand what this commission does, and it makes the work more challenging. And I think that we could look at making what our that our work is based on state regulations. It's not our opinion, and so on. And I think that the more the general public understands that, the happier everybody will be. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Carol. To your point, we've just had some torrential rains today and last night. And I know that there have been several basements that have been flooded due to that. And I understand I know we all know that if there had been wetlands between, in many of those cases, some of the wetlands would have slowed down that surface water. And that's a direct result of the state and the town protecting wetlands and the Conservation Commission's using those laws to conserve or preserve them. So yeah, that's a very good point, Carol. Thank you. Bruce has a question or comment.
Comment. On balance, I agree with Aaron's attempt to enable both of these things and the request of the applicants to get these things resolved more or less simultaneously as best we can. And I think it's in a fair outcome. I also want to make sure that we don't decide something that's in fairness no different than the big schools in town, who often have a new request while they still have something going on, and sometimes not very well over there. And just because Amherst Montessori is small, I don't think we should hold them to a different standard than Amherst College or UMass or the soon to be belated Hampshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Jason?
Thanks. I don't know, Aaron, if this can be added to the order of conditions, but looking through the photos, the trash bins that are right up against the edge, I would like to see some sort of actual barrier and cover. It doesn't appear that there's a dumpster. It just looks like they're all, 56-gallon trash cans. So, and when I say dumpster, meaning that a truck has to go in and like pick it up. So I'd like to see an actual barrier, not just to like what appears to be like similar to a split rail fence, but a barrier with a roof to prevent rain from contacting the trash and washing it into the wetlands, and then to a barrier on the sides to capture or prevent any trash that might fall out of the bins or not actually get into the bins from washing then into the wetlands. And then in the photos from the 2022 violation, it appears that there's a snow blower sitting right next to the trash cans. So there's snow on the ground in the picture, so it looks like my guess was that snow blower was probably just used. But I want to make sure that there's like equipment storage, that things like that, especially equipment that potentially has gasoline or some sort of oil and or other things, that they're not being stored outside and coming in contact with stormwater that would then potentially wash any pollutants into the wetlands.
Great points, Jason. Thank you. So I'll have a little something to say. Apparently there was an issue with how the former directors of this Montessori school might have dealt with with our wetland issue, the issue that we're talking about right now, the enforcement issue. And now a whole bunch of time's gone by, and we have new folks in charge. Normally I would have a lot more to say against going ahead and approving things, but I think the idea of having an enforcement order to get things started is a good one. Yeah, I mean, it's we're looking at this issue that began in 2021, and here we are 5 years later. and it came up essentially because there was a request for essentially an NOI. So I understand that there's been a change in management at the school, and I guess the indication that I'm getting from the board is that they're making a big change. So I'm in agreement with it. Although yeah, again, I think it's hard to overlook the fact that it's been 5 years. With that, I'll step aside and let Carol have her comment or question.
Well, I agree with what Jason pointed out about the way the trash storage is handled. And I don't know how that was described in the original plan for it, but I mean, there are clearly ongoing problems with the way it's set up now. I don't know if that can be remedied in any way.
I think we can request that be put into the order of conditions. Is that right, Aaron?
So my recommendation would be that we include it in the enforcement portion to require some sort of structural containment and cover over the trash storage area, and then also the that any equipment on site needs to be properly stored in a a closed contained structure, or either shed or some other closed structure. I think those are really great, and I think we can just add those to the enforcement. Uh, I don't, if they need additional time to come up with that, I'm comfortable with that, because my number one concern, honestly, I think Andre, you made an excellent point about the storm we had tonight. When this originally came about, it was reported to us, I believe, from an abutter who was having flooding on their property, and they basically reported to us that water previously flowed from their property through this site to drain. And so when the fill went in, it was blocking the water from moving from their property, and then they were getting flooding on their property. And so the fact that this has taken so long, it's like that would be my number one concern, to get that material out of there so that that swale can move and water can move through it. Um, and then once that's taken care of, again, we can include that that's a condition that needs to be addressed, and perhaps, add an additional, 30 or 60 days or something to allow particularly the covering and containment of the trash. But I agree it is a problem. The trash was blowing into the wetland. There was a bunch of trash in there. So I think that's a great addition, and thank you for adding that.
Great, and thanks, Aaron. Let me just take a quick survey, if you don't mind. Just put your hand up if you're in agreement with having both an enforcement order and then approving the notice of intent. My hands up. Jason, Bruce. Okay, so I think we're all in agreement. Well, if we have no other questions, then Aaron, do you have some motions or a motion to share with us?
There's two separate motions here, so I would definitely suggest we have two separate motions for each of the items.
Sounds great. So there are the motions, folks.
I'll take the first one. I move to close the public hearing and issue an order of conditions for DEP number 089-0769 under the Wetlands Protection Act and Wetlands Protection under Town of Amherst General Bylaw Article 3.31 with the noted conditions.
I second that.
All right. Bruce has the motion, and Jason seconded. Jason?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. That motion is approved.
I will move to issue the enforcement order to the Amherst Montessori School at 27 Pomeroy Lane with conditions and requirements as drafted, including the additional noted conditions.
Seconded.
Jason with a motion and Sarah seconds. Sarah,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Mr. Squire, looks like we're set to move forward. I appreciate your presentation, and I wish you all luck in moving forward. And good luck getting the swale back into function.
Thank you. I really appreciate the commission's time and Aaron especially. And yeah, this is glad we were able to resolve all this. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Have a good night. Now we're back. We're now down to back to the business that we were covering earlier. We have minutes and land use updates, which appear to be none, and a few other items before we come back to the other business. So with that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of minutes. And unless we have questions on the minutes, we're looking for a motion to approve the minutes from 2/25/26, 3/11/26, 3/25/26, and 4/8/26.
So moved.
I second.
Sarah with the motion and Jason seconds. Jason,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Ruth,
Abstain.
abstain. And I'm an aye. So we've approved the minutes. Aaron, are there any land use updates? I see it says none, but
Nope.
okay. Then so we have a Community Preservation Act group. And there has been typically a representative from the Conservation Commission as a liaison with them. I believe Jason's been doing this for at least the last year, and I think we're looking for we're looking to appoint someone new. Aaron, did you have anything else on that? And maybe we can ask Jason a bit about it as well.
No, I mean, I got the impression that Jason was still interested in doing it, but I don't want to speak for him. I just know he got reappointed to Concom and was not that expecting to be reappointed to CPA. But Jason, please correct me if I'm wrong or if you have other thoughts about it.
No, you're right. I'd love to do it again if it's amenable to everybody else.
Okay, great. Are there any others on the commission who would like to do it as well? I see no hands. So how do we do this, Aaron? Do we vote or we
Somebody would need to appoint Jason, so just make a motion to appoint Jason as the Conservation Commission's CPA liaison, and then
So moved.
all right, Bruce moved to appoint Jason as a liaison. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oops, sorry,
All right.
Carol.
Sorry.
Carol second. Carol?
Yes.
Sarah?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
Jason? You can vote for yourself.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. You're it.
Okay.
Congratulations, Jason.
Thanks,
and
Thank you, Jason.
thanks for doing that on our behalf.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for allowing me to.
You got it. Aaron, you had some commentary on First Amendment obligations for us.
Yes, and I'm going to keep this really brief. We recently had a First Amendment uh, kind of information session in town hall for staff liaisons to boards, just to discuss sort of expectations with um, making sure that um, First Amendment rights are observed in Amherst. And I wanted to just share, again, just a couple bulleted items. So it was really uh, emphasized, and I think we do this very well, that it's important for members of the public to be able to have a consistent forum, and that includes like a time window when they can provide public comment. And I think the commission does a great job of including public comment at many junctures throughout the meeting, but that 2-minute limit on public comment becomes very important. So, and the reason for that is because legally, a member of the public who comes to speak at a public meeting can say whatever they want, including um, things that are inappropriate, things that are they might be swears, they might be, things that people find very offensive. And we can't stop them in the middle of a public meeting from doing that. If we said, you're using profanity, we're gonna stop you, they can take legal action against the town. So it's really important that they have their 2 minutes to speak. And this has happened at many meetings where a member of the public has spoken, and you know, again, it can include, I'm not going to use specific examples, but it can include things that people find very hurtful or offensive. And if that happens, allowing them their 2 minutes to speak, and then at the end of that, sort of doing a reframe and stating, it's important that people in attendance understand that the opinions that are expressed by those individuals don't reflect the opinions of the Conservation Commission or the town, but it's their First Amendment right to speak. And so just to make sure that everybody understands, if we get into a situation such as that, it can be very difficult, but it's something that we have to deal with. So the difference with this is that is specifically for public comment periods. So for example, when Andre, you call for public comment and we have those 2-minute periods, that's the opportunity for those folks, any attendees to speak. However, we have always had a very structured meeting where, for example, applicants give their presentation, staff give their presentation, and so forth. So as an example, if somebody's going over their time, if let's say anybody, it could be an applicant, it could be a member of the public, has gone over their time that has been allotted to them for their presentation or their public comment, you as chair can say, I'm sorry, but your time is up. We're on to the next person. So that 2 minutes is their opportunity to speak. We can't stop them from speaking during that limited time window, but we have to provide that opportunity, and that sort of provides the structure to allow us to keep moving. So I just wanted to make sure I shared this back with the commission. It's very complicated and confusing from a staff standpoint. This doesn't include folks who are disruptive to meetings, so people who interrupt. And again, I know we meet on Zoom, so if you're in an in-person meeting, it's a lot easier for somebody to jump up and start disrupting the meeting. In a Zoom meeting, it's a little more difficult to do that. But if that happened during a meeting, Andre, you would have the ability to say, you're disrupting our meeting right now. This is in a public comment window. I'm going to have to ask you to, you know, or that's an opportunity where you can step in to stop if somebody's disrespecting or interrupting or, you know, speaking out of turn, disrupting the meeting. So just want to sort of frame this all out for everybody. I'm happy to answer what questions I can, and hopefully that's informative to everyone.
Well, thanks. It is quite informative. So public comment, First Amendment, what about presentations?
Right. So if a presentation goes off the rails and it begins to either go over time and or become disruptive to the function of the meeting in some way, you can, as chair, say, you've had your opportunity to present. Now we move on to, you know, staff presentation or commission presentation or public comment period. So that is your sort of ability to structure things if things get out of hand or off the rails or whatever.
Yeah, I was just thinking of what if your example of the profane language and so on is coming from a presenter as well. It's not just so that applies to them as well, not just the public that's commenting, right?
That's correct. So
Just want-
again, I think those 5-minute windows, those 2-minute windows become very, very important.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Bruce?
So, Aaron, in your description of this extreme, relatively highly unlikely circumstance, is there one step further that Andre could take, which is to cut the mic? Can he and you, with your technical help, cut the person off by eliminating, sending them out back into the void
After 2 minutes, maybe.
after
Right.
2 minutes,
After
or
2
after
minutes.
5 minutes? But especially the 2-minute one. Can you
Yes.
just cut the mic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. After 2
That-
minutes. Yes.
That's what I wanted to emphasize. It's not just Andre saying, "No, your time is up." He can make the time up if it's really bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
So one other quick thing I wanted to just make you aware of is that the DEP is in the process of revising some of its regulations around restoration projects in the state of Massachusetts. I think I forwarded you guys the email. There was a information session today, but basically they're attempting to make it easier for restoration projects because historically it's been really difficult to go through a restoration project. Jason alluded to this earlier today when he mentioned the Puffers Pond Dam. A dam removal project can take, permitting wise, it can take 5 to 10 years to permit. And so we recognize, or I think the state recognizes, that these restoration projects are critically important for climate change, for long-term sustainability, et cetera. And so the state wants to encourage those restoration projects. And so there's some regulatory adjustments that they're making that will make restoration projects a little more streamlined from a permitting standpoint. I attended the training today. Again, very dry material, but they went through, and I think MACC is doing some lunch and learns in the future that will be covering kind of the specific regulatory. A lot of the projects do refer to coastal projects, like salt marsh restorations and cranberry bog restorations and stuff like that. But there are elements of it that do apply to us. So anybody who's interested, that's something to keep in mind, and I'll continue to keep you guys updated as regulatory amendments come into effect.
Well, great. Thank you, Aaron. Any questions on those? No questions. Now we'll move on to other business unless I missed something. Under other business, we've got some requests for certificate of compliance for Middle Street culverts, Potwine Lane culverts, and then the Amherst Regional High School track.
Yes. So I have been to all of these sites. These sites are all over 90% stabilized. The work has been completed on all of these sites. I was not able to go through each of the orders of conditions to itemize the ongoing conditions that are required for each one. So you guys may notice that when I tee up a motion for a certificate of compliance, it'll say a complete certificate of compliance with the following noted ongoing conditions, and that it'll specify what those ongoing conditions are. In this case, I didn't have an opportunity to do that yet. So we can do one of two things this evening. The commission can move to issue a complete certificate of compliance on all of them and make a notation that that they will defer to the conservation agent to include the ongoing conditions that are referenced in the orders of conditions for each permit to include in the certificates. Or if you'd prefer to table this to the next meeting, I can have that information ready to provide in greater detail for motions at that time.
Any questions so far? Yeah, Jason?
Yeah, thank you. Aaron, in looking at the Middle Street culvert pictures, it appears that they used a straw wattle with a photodegradable polypropylene mesh. They use plastic mesh
On the straw wattles?
straw wattles. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No, not the straw wattles, the straw blanket.
Oh, on the straw blankets?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're
So um I will double check that, but on site I don't believe I mean I'll double check, but I think that they're the ones that are the stitched ones that are they're almost like a string with the fabric, but I'll double check that. And if there is in fact polypropylene, usually that's like the first thing I see, so I'm surprised that I didn't. But I'll make sure that they remove that if
well,
it's in fact on the
yeah,
site.
so here's the problem when they do this. It appears to me it's the green polypropylene, looks like a single or double net straw blanket that now has vegetation growing through it.
Hmm.
So if they remove the polypropylene netting, the straw is going to come up with it, and some of the vegetation is going to come up with it.
Hmm.
So then they may have to go in there and revegetate or reseed with potentially 100% biodegradable blanket in place. Um, which is what I don't know if we required that prior to this project when they had the NOI and it's or in any orders of condition for this project, but
Hmm.
that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future. So it looks to me like it's polypropylene. I'd love for you to check on site. I'm more than happy to go there on site. Um, and I just want to reiterate that biodegradable and photodegradable are not the same thing.
Yeah.
So if that is the polypropylene, that's all gonna have to come up. Or would it? I guess also maybe that's my question. Would it have to come up? Is it in their orders of condition that only biodegradable products can be used? And can we at this point require that?
So I will check on that in advance of the next meeting, Jason, all of those details. But yeah, I mean it's you said it was at the Middle Street site that you saw it on the photos or the Potwine?
Yeah, it appears to be the Middle Street site, and I didn't see any at the Potwine. It doesn't look like they have much in way of blanket there. I just see like some straw and some like a hay bale and some silt fence there.
Yeah. So can you, I just want to make sure that we're, do you happen to have like a photo number on that where you're
Um,
seeing it?
yeah, if you look at photo, not 911 and zoom in, or you can, I mean, you can look at pretty much any one of the photos and just magnify it and zoom in, and you can see the green, um, shiny green plastic netting there.
So I have an idea. I don't really feel I don't really feel like I want to go ahead and approve this and then leave things kind of loose, if you would. Why don't we table this, these three, and Aaron will have a chance to get a view of the Middle Street culvert and make sure that or double check on what materials were used. And at the same time, she'll have a chance to finalize the ongoing conditions, so that we can approve it as a whole. And I think I'd rather do that. But prior to that, Bruce does have a question. So,
Given that, no, I withdraw.
I mean, that's what I propose. I don't.
Well, actually, I'll ask a general question without the detail. We're getting to the end of the meeting here. So, for both Jason and Aaron, is it common that you give a certificate of compliance and the freestanding erosion controls are still sitting there? And
Yeah, so I was out with them to grant permission for the controls to come out. That was what that site visit was for, and at that time I recommended that they file a certificate of compliance
okay,
because of the
so
vegetation on the
it
sites.
just happens that the picture
Yeah.
shows the controls there, but they're
Yeah.
not. If I went there now, they wouldn't be. Well, it's
Right.
dark, but
They should have been removed. They should have been removed already.
okay.
Beth did ask me, do you want another site visit now that we've taken controls down? And I said, I don't think we need one, but I think that Jason's point is a good one. And just for the record, I mean, this is a issue with that polypropylene erosion control blanket that I deal with almost every single site visit I go on. And I do explicitly state it when I do pre-construction meetings. I explicitly state it. Um, it just seems like it's a continuous struggle to deal with. And even, I mean, just as an example, I'm aware of it and I am alert to it and I look for it when I go out to sites, but apparently I missed it on this one. Even though I was out there doing an inspection, I didn't see it. So, because the veg was grown in. So, you know, it's a challenge for sure.
And
And
this
I'll
is the
try to
town. These are town projects. So at a
right.
bare minimum, we should prevent the town from doing it.
Well, it's not really a town. I mean, so it is a town project in that we're hiring we're bidding out to a contractor to do it. It's not like it's the DPW out there doing it.
Fair enough.
It's
But
they do a bid process and they hire a contractor and then the contractor does the work. So, and that's usually where the
Alright.
breakdown happens is with if it's the DPW, they do a great job. Like they're out there with their jute net, or the jute mesh or whatever. So anyway,
Yeah, Aaron, and maybe you could show this. So I'd like to just make one point of distinction. I don't know, Bruce, if you were talking about like vertical controls.
yes,
So vertical controls are sediment controls. They're meant to slow water, allow sediment to drop out of suspension, prevent sediment from leaving the site. Erosion controls are flat. Erosion control is covering the ground. It's it's reducing the erosive potential of raindrops as they hit the soil. So it's preventing the dislodging of sediment particles.
okay.
So, Aaron, could you share photo 112049. Just by way of like, just so I want to, these
Yeah, thank you.
erosion controls like this, they don't get removed generally. Um, an erosion control blanket, like the one in the photo that Aaron will show you, they put the soil down generally. They'll put soil down, they'll put seed down, and then they put the erosion control blanket down. And what happens is then as the seed germinates, the grass, if this is
Right.
the blanket, it grows through it like that.
Right.
So if you take the blanket out, you can rip a lot of
No, I
that.
understand that part. I was talking about the vertical ones.
Yeah, so the verticals like silt fence, straw wattles, compost socks, hay bales, those are all sediment controls, and those all have to come out at
Yeah.
the end of a
Okay.
project. But erosion control blankets,
Understood. Thank you.
Sorry.
the plastic ones are only supposed to be temporary. They're not
Understood.
in a permanent condition.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, my remote computer kicked me out, so that's why I couldn't get into my computer. I'm back in now. What photo did you want me to share?
It was
Jason?
112049.
I had a stint where I did landscaping, and clearing those out is an absolute mess,
Yeah,
Jason.
and on the sides of highways when they mow,
It's impossible not to rip it apart into pieces, and it's really it's a real mess.
and it breaks down and then goes right, and then you get more plastics in the water. But here, if you zoom in on the bottom part, you can see, Aaron, the polypropylene mesh is that green shiny plastic mesh generally. But you can see really here, I don't know if you guys can actually see that, but you can see like where the straw goes in one direction and in another, and then they sandwich it between the mesh. And as the straw biodegrades, the mesh is left there.
Okay.
Right above the culvert pipe is a little bit of section where I
Yeah.
don't know. I've been doing this for 20 years too, so I can
Yeah.
I can see this pretty.
Yeah. Well, I will definitely follow up on that, just to get an answer and also check the order of conditions just to see if that was a specific condition in there.
Yeah.
So we'll address it one way or another at the next meeting.
And we
Thank
should celebrate the improved culvert. Just saying.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. All right, so compliance will be moved to next week. Do we need a motion for that?
Um,
Yeah.
do you want me to give an update on Olympia or on Olympia Oaks, or we're gonna miss that one tonight?
Well, we're doing I just wanted to move from
For certificates of compliance. Yes, sorry.
Yep.
Yes.
So we don't need a motion for that, right?
No.
Just move it to next week, and then we
Yep.
have under other business monitoring reports. And for Hickory Ridge, or do you want to actually let's talk about what is it? Olympia Oaks, please. And then
Sure.
if we have time, we can talk about monitoring reports, but maybe we should bump that to the next week. We're kind of running late.
Sure. I think I can go pretty quickly. So for Olympia Oaks, there are correspondence in the folder under compliance. I received a call. The backstory is that there was a fire at Olympia Oaks and one of the structures burned. They were planning to demo the wooden part of the structure, but preserve the foundation to rebuild on the existing foundation for a new building. I had worked out the details with them with erosion controls, with specifics about mats for equipment and everything, so there'd be zero ground disturbance and that they wouldn't need to file a permit. However, last week I received a call from the project manager saying that in the middle of the demo, there was a problem discovered, and there was concern that the foundation was going to collapse. And so they took an emergency measure, which was to remove some soil from up against the edge of the foundation to relieve pressure on the foundation to prevent it from collapsing. I checked in with Andre as well as with the building commissioner about the issue, and the building commissioner recommended that they speak to their engineer to install a brace system on the interior of the foundation to address the issue. And both Andre and the building commissioner agreed not to issue an emergency certification because of the situation. So I relayed this back to the project manager, and they backfilled and they installed the brace for the foundation. They put erosion control blankets down and seed and stuff, and they stopped with any further excavation work. And so I'm comfortable at this point that there's no well, let's put it this way. From a staff standpoint, I'm not sure there's anything else that needs to be done. Whether the commission decides they want to do something in terms of enforcement or otherwise, that's up to the commission. However, I think they did have some guidance from an engineer that there was concern about the foundation collapsing. And so they felt like they were doing the right thing to prevent a bigger problem from happening with more environmental impact. So I will defer to the board of how you want to deal with it, but I'm not recommending any action at this point on that.
Thanks, Aaron. I have a quick comment. I'm kind of surprised that they would have listened to the engineer who told them to that there was a problem and that they needed to do this dig along the outside of the foundation. If that's the same engineer who oversaw this project, because they should have foreseen this. And if it was whatever emergency it was, they should have been calling the town to figure this out. I mean, I just can't imagine that all of a sudden somebody came there and told them that they have a problem and they need to dig it up, and they just dug it up in 2 minutes without having an opportunity to make a phone call. That said, it looks like the harm or the damage was reversed in as much as possible, and not going to be repeated, I would hope. That's all that I have to say so far. Anyone else? If everybody is okay with so your recommendation, Aaron, is to just move on with no further action on this, right? You're muted, but I got your nod of okay. Would you lift your hand if you agree that that we should just go ahead and put this behind us? That's all of us. I think we're all in agreement then, Aaron. So yeah, good work there, getting them to reverse what they did, and thanks for that.
Mhm. Yes.
And now moving on to the last of our agenda and so on. What we give the public an opportunity to ask questions or make any comments prior to adjourning for the meeting. So please raise your hand if you do have a question or a comment. I see no one in the public with questions or comments, so I do see that Bruce has
I'm just wondering if we're pushing the request to cease inspections at Hickory Ridge to the next meeting.
We are.
I think. Good to know. Then I move we adjourn.
Why don't you repeat that in about a minute or so?
Okay, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. Are there any topics that were not reasonably anticipated 48 hours before the meeting? No one for us. No one of the attendees. No. So then, Bruce, you had something.
Now I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Bruce with a motion and Jason's second. Jason,
Aye.
Sarah,
I
Carol,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Nam and I. Well, thank you all for another good meeting, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks, I think. Right?
So is it in 2 weeks or 1 week?
It's at our normal time, which is the second Wednesday of the month, and I can't tell you the actual date just yet, but
It's August 12th.
August 12th.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everyone, and have a good 2 weeks, huh?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good
Bye.
night.
Good night.